Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. La Republic of Cameroon, in all its intrigues, has succeeded to carve out another Atanga NG, this time in the person of Honorable Ekole Peters, as he says he has never been attacked by anyone and there is no war in Amazonia. Trying to play out normalcy to the world has always been one of La Republic's goals in order to sway the eyes of the world away from the plight of the oppressed Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. There is no war in southern Cameroon's Amazonia, then why are houses, hospitals, and other structures being burnt down on a regular basis to frustrate the people? Why are the killings and shootouts every other day in Amazonia? Just recently, where there was loud gunshot exchanges at a station in Batibo. Why are there visible bomb scars in different places if there is really no war in Cameroon? While Ekole Peters is spreading the lie that there is no war, our valiant forces are not relenting in defending their people against colonial terrorists, and they will continue to do so. Because like the Secretary of State for Defense and Special Operations, Sylvester Zama said, they indeed are protectors of our citizens, soldiers who are defenders of our liberty and independence. We have a list of topics for you tonight, and we'll bring that to you right after the prime headlines.
These are the prime headlines for today. La Republic Cameroon soldiers abuse students, forcing them to go on rampage. Today as well, CPDM MP Honorable Ekole Peter says there is no war in Amazonia. Manfred Defense Forces confront La Republic Cameroon colonial terrorists. And today as well, we are going to be looking at the story that says La Republic Cameroon forces makes life difficult for transporters and road users in Amazonia. Still on today, ADF stolen Francia from a family in Boyer. Today, Sonatrel out of the electricity equation in Nkambe after 2 years. And in sports, Brentford striker charged by the FA with 232 breaches of betting rules.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Amazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Amazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
And we start the news today with a breaking news. The Colonial La Republic du Cameroon military deployed to southern Cameroon are on a mission to frustrate activities in southern Cameroon. Deployed in the guise to maintain law and order, most of the disorders are caused by them. Today, Thursday, November 17th, the students of GBHS Bamender were uncontrollable with a Colonial La Republic du Cameroon soldier baying the course. How come government schools have barrage and the students are expected to learn with serenity, seeing guns on a daily basis? Now, Undaunted, with this breaking news, this is where we'll begin the full briefings of tonight's news. I am Onyi Obalance. Smart is here as always. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Onyi, and good evening, fellow Ambazonians. At the morning hours of today, Thursday, November 17th, the students of GBHS Bamender became uncontrollable, causing the school day to end abruptly. The incident that provoked the pandemonium as gathered by Undaunted, a student had a scuffle with one of the military men stationed on the school bus in the name of ensuring security. The said form for students resisting not to follow the colonial officer into their disciplinary room punched the military officer. The colleagues of this colonial officer then bundled the student into their disciplinary room to properly flog him, probably, as it is always the normal. Other students who have nursed hatred and bitterness against the way these La Republic du Cameroon thugs have been maltreating them to press for the release of their mate. Now, these students made use of stones and sticks to forcefully open the door, then locked themselves inside with the student. The students shattered louvers of school office buildings and left one of the colonial military men with a bleeding head. Now, these military men attempted dispersing the students with their guns, but were overpowered by the angry students. One of the students talking to Undaunted confessed that the military men at GBHS campus are exaggerating. Says the military men in our school are gradually taking the place of our discipline master. They are fond of seizing belongings of students. They will even go to the point of removing belts from students' waist and owning them. They're exaggerating, and today they have learned their lessons. This is what the student had to say to Undaunted. Meanwhile, we have a video of students running home for safety after the incident.
How's that? Where's in land? I didn't look my own picking for carry you. No, no.
The position of the interim government of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia on back to school is clear. The IG cannot guarantee the safety of pupils and students, given the insecurity as a result of the war declared by Paul Biya of La Republic de Cameroon on the people of Southern Cameroon. There, IG says parents should only send their children to school if they can guarantee their security. Students have died on their way to school. Some have been kidnapped. Schoolgirls raped in the process, even. Now, due to these circumstances, we got the Secretary of State for Education and Strategic Collaboration, Professor Beatrice Epote. She has something to say. Let's take a listen.
With great dismay that we learn of yet attack by La République on the education of Amazonian children. This time, La République military caused GTHS Bamenda to close unexpectedly after they had a brutal confrontation with the students. As the Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration, we wish to express our sincere sympathy to all the students of GTHS Bamenda for the chaos caused by this unfortunate incident. We wish to use this opportunity to reiterate the fact that Amazonian children are not safe in schools at the moment. This is the IG stance as far as going to school is concerned. Our children are not safe, the environment is not safe for them, and we call on parents to please consider the safety of their children as a priority. We are equally expressing our sympathy to the school administration and the teachers, and also call on them to please note that the situation in which we are is not conducive for education until such a time when measures will be put in place for safe education for our children. We will plead with both the school administrators and the parents to look into this issue and put the safety of the children and the teachers first. We are at this moment calling on UNESCO and UNICEF to intervene in what is happening in Ambazonia and make sure that Ambazonian children go to school in a safe environment. We want to reiterate the fact that what is happening in Ambazonia is a violation of both the UN Human Rights 26 and the Children's Right, UN Declaration on Children's Right, number 28. Every child has the right to formal education. And the fact that Amazonian children are not able to go to school in a safe environment means that they are being denied this right. And we are therefore calling on the UN to intervene through UNESCO and UNICEF so that Amazonian children can enjoy the privilege that other children are enjoying.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
And we have another breaking news here. Now, there has been this report of COVID-19 drugs to vaccinate Ambazonians. From the intelligence report, we know that it is a ploy, something that has not been censored to the people of Ambazonia. And that could be a chemical war strategy of La Republic du Cameroon. So caution should be exercised. Now, Undaunted also gathered that hospitals and health centers have large stockpiles either ready to be injected in or already being injected into our people's bodies.
Now, the interim government actually is sending out an information, a caution, and from the interim government's perspective, Dr. Tito would be sending out an official statement any moment from now. We tried reaching him earlier, but he was unavailable at the moment. But when he is pretty much available, he'll send a voice note or a statement in regards to this vaccine for Ambazonians. So stay tuned.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, up to our next story. We are asking this evening, what has become of Munzu and Ayangwe? Have they gone out of their minds? How can La Republic do Cameroon merchandise belittle their minds? And, of course, they go against their homeland. Now, why would we do that? Obviously, because of the blood money. Munzu and Ayangwe has failed to write their names on the sands of time, having been brought over by La Republic to Cameroon. They are now history and should never again be allowed.
Well, that being said, right now we'll go through some excerpts of the Bamenda Proclamation as concerns these two case studies, Munzu and Ayangwe. In the light of the foregoing, the Anglophone people of Cameroon meet at Bamenda in the second All Anglophone Conference AAC2 solemnly adopt and issue the following proclamation excerpts. 6, it says, should the government either persist in its refusal to engage in meaningful constitutional talks or fail to engage in such talks within a reasonable time, the Anglophone Council shall inform the Anglophone people by all suitable means. It shall thereupon proclaim the revival of the independence of the Anglophone territory of the Southern Cameroon, all necessary measures to secure, defend, and preserve the independence, sovereignty, and integrity of the said territory. And 7, following the proclamation of the revival of the independence and sovereignty of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, as provided for herein above, the Anglophone Council shall, without having to convene another session of the All Anglophone Conference, transform itself into the Southern Cameroon's Constituent Assembly for the purpose of drafting, debating, and adopting a constitution for the independence and sovereign state of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Now, this was read by Dr. Simon Munzu in Bamenda with tears flowing from his eyes.
Now, in June 1995, St. Muna, Simon Munzo Ekontang Alad, J.N. Foncha, Njolu Timbe, and many others crossed the Mungo Bridge with the UN flag after a trip to New York to make case for an independent Southern Cameroon state. During the Anglophone crisis, the AAC 1 and 2, Boya and Bamenda, we had two secretaries, Dr. Munzo from the Southwest and Professor Ayangwe Carlson from the Northwest. As if God knew the confusion ahead with time and the hearts of two secretaries, late statesman Muna and Foncha did their best to explain how they got themselves entangled in a failed union that was tentative or had a trial period. He goes on to say, I remember late statesman Dr. Foncha shedding tears when he was held to hostage for selling West Cameroon. Late Dr. Foncha's action in tears caused the writing of a memorandum of the UN to separation. Copy of the memorandum in the hands of the secretaries who today are showing their true colors of betrayal since they can't bite the fingers that fit them.
Now, during the AAC 1 and 2, no Franco at the meeting as such, if our two secretaries had made the BIACOV meant to know the outcome of the memorandum, the nasty situation today could have caused the killings of West Cameroonians. Now, looking at the picture below, you find Munzu Elad, late Pa Njo, late Pa Abam, and New Life John Frundi, etc. Well, I don't blame the BA's administration for the ongoing confusion, but Munzu, Elad Eyangwe, John Frundi for not holding on the truth and blessing late Pa Foncha, and Muna gave us to continue. Now, it should be noted that ACC3 can only hold when Munzu, Ayangwe, etc., and no more if they're present when necessary. If it were to hold with all the sellouts you find in the picture in attendance, consider it a free-for-all fight to continue based on your public reaction. You'll get Senior Barrister John Nso involved to know.
Now, a look at Chief Charles A. Taku's comment on Dr. Munzo. He says, I have listened to a pathetic apology of the atrocity crimes committed against Southern Cameroons by Dr. Munzo, in particular his allegation that mass killing of members of the group is a requirement for the crime of genocide. Now, the reasoning is inconsistent with the law and the jurisprudence of International Criminal Tribunal Court. The ICTR is prosecutor versus Jean-Paul Akaso case number ICTR 964/T, defend genocide article 2 section 3 of the statute of the tribunals as follows. Paragraph 494, it says genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethical, racial, or religious group as such. 1. Killing members of a group. B. Of it, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. D. Imposing measures intended to prevent birth within the group. And E. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group.
Now, continuing on Charles Taku's comment, he goes on to say the trial judgment determined and the appeal judgment confirmed that inflicting any of the enumerated acts against a single member of the group with the required dolu specially special intent was enough for a crime of genocide to be found to have been committed. Akayesu was found guilty of genocide for specific acts which occurred at a checkpoint where persons were targeted for their Tutsi ethnic identity through a showing of identity cards and the alleged presence of Southern Cameroons in La République du Cameroon, or the alleged widespread attacks or targeting are not legal requirement. Dr. Munzu miscomprehends the law on this issue. Furthermore, conflates the widespread and systematic requirements of contextual elements for crimes against humanity with context elements of genocide. He may not be aware of the jurisprudence of international courts and tribunals, many which occurred in cases in which I participated, that crimes against humanity and genocide may occur outside an armed conflict. Now, this is signed Charles Taku. We brought to you those in the pursuit of sovereignty, how long they've been in the race and their failures. And we also brought to you the team cruising to Boya, and those who try to trip and fail us are going to bear the brunt of the consequences.
All right, so while Ekole Peters is spreading the lie that there is no war, our valiant forces are not relenting in defending their people against colonial terrorists. General Transporter and his troops of the Manfei Southern Cameroon Defense Forces confronts terrorists at La République du Cameroon colonial forces in a fierce battle. Undaunted has launched through some video images that General Transporter of the Manfei Southern Cameroon's Defense Forces on Tuesday, November 15, 2022, opened fire in a fierce attack against the colonial French Cameroon military in Manfei. During this fierce encounter, General Transporter and his troops Kukumized their enemy combatants, La Republic du Cameroon terrorist military, shattering their trucks. Further reports add that dozens of the enemy forces were killed and several others fatally wounded, and a total of 6 AK-47s were harvested.
Now, this story.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the pirate media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. You know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, you're welcome back. La Republic, in all its intrigues, has succeeded to carve out another Atanga Nji, this time in the person of horrible Ekoli Peters. Hear him, he says, I am going to fight for peace vigorously in 2023 with all my might. I am a resident in Kumba and I have never been attacked by any person. People should not come here and say that there is war in the Southwest. He says there is no war in the Southwest. The new and strange Atanga Nji said on Media Prime TV.
You know, this is one story that took to my interest. I mean, Honorable Ekole Peters was speaking on the opening day of the November session of Colonial La Republic du Cameroon's National Assembly on November 11th, 2022. Such public utterances from a member of parliament for Kumba, local government area, Meme County, one of the hottest spots of the war ravaging the entire Amazonia, shocked his people when he said there is no war in the southwest region. Quote, I am going to fight for peace vigorously in 2023 with all my might. I am a resident of Cuba and I have never been attacked by any person. People should not come here and say that there is war in the southwest. There is no war in the southwest. Now, this MP blatantly said on my TV, my Media Prime TV.
Now, many say they were shocked by his outing at the National Assembly, which confirms he is out of touch with the realities of the people he's supposed to be representing. But those who understand and have followed events in La Republic de Cameroon know that there has never been election since John Frundi embarrassed Biya in 1992 by snatching a victory that was snatched back. Since then, La Republic de Cameroon and the CPDM mafia syndicate changed rigging strategies and resorted to the list system, nominate and even appoint MPs, councillors, and so many others are based on loyalty. Now, what's still since this war started, no one dared attempt any elections in Amberland, and today we have supposed those representatives representing only themselves and just the marks.
Well, today's people's representatives, like Amazonians' traditional authorities, have long severed ties with their people for choosing to dine with bloody genocidal Yaoundé. They live in hotels in Yaoundé, Douala, Bafoussam, and more. And some have even built in these places. Ekole Peters is one of them, just speaking his truth because he is not representing anybody.
Well, his strange comments came at a time when Amazonians are crying about the killings of over 40,000 innocent souls. Killings that have not spared any family, with hundreds of thousands forced to leave their homes and living in exiles as refugees, with hundreds detained in various prisons in and around Amberland, thousands in Nigeria, Ghana, Equatorial Guinea, and many others as refugees, and many more missing and unaccounted for. Over 500 homes and villages burned down by a barbaric La Republic de Cameroon military. Horrible. Ekole Peters, the new Atanganji recruit, must consult his friend in crime who said there was no Anglophone problem, but finally folded his sleeves engaging in a full-fledged war by recruiting militias who have been spoiling the war with infiltrations, killings, and ransom taken for 6 years and counting.
Well, maybe Honorable Ekole Peters is trying equally to climb on Amazonian blood that has been spilled to gain Bia's favor for a ministerial appointment in the moribund Yaoundé corrupt governance system.
All right, so while Ekole Peters is spreading the lie that there is no war, our valiant forces are not relented in defending their people against colonial terrorists. General Transporter of his troops of the Mamfi Southern Cameroon's Defense Forces confront terrorist La Republic du Cameroon colonial forces in a fierce battle. Undaunted has learned through some video images that General Transporter of the Mount Faye Southern Cameroon's Defense Forces on Tuesday, November 15, 2022, opened fire in a fierce attack against the colonial French Cameroon military in Mount Faye. During these fierce encounter, General Transporter and his troops cucumized the enemy combatant La Republic du Cameroon terrorist military, shattering their trucks. Further reports are that dozens of the enemy forces were killed and several others fatally wounded, and a total of 6 AK-47s were harvested.
Monday, November 15th, the Mazam Special Forces under General King of the Bush opened fire and sprayed bullets on the enemy, La Republic du Cameroon colonial troop, also known as Ekele base, around the Bamenda cattle market, pushing the enemy to retreat as they flew for their dear lives. Before that, Sunday, November 13th, it was General Tolkien Du of the Bui Warriors in a video thanking the civilian populations for collaborating with Amazonian Restoration Forces in Kumbo local government area to boot colonial La Republic du Cameroon enemy forces out of homeland. Firepower is regaining momentum on home front, and thanks to the interim government and its visionary leader, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, and with him piloting Boya is sure.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
The colonial La Republic du Cameroon forces of law and order are the direct opposite to their professional tenants, called to maintain law and order. They, on the contrary, are the promoters of these orders at all levels. In southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, these so-called forces of law and order are the ones looting shops at unholy hours of the night, shot and kill school children, youths, and the old. They set ablaze schools, pupils, residents, and even hospitals. All these in complicity with their commander, dictator Paul Biya, president of La Republique du Cameroon. Ambazonia is the direct opposite to La Republique du Cameroon in terms of dignity and integrity. Now, these two nations are incompatible and can never get along. For Ambazonia to be free from being adulterated with La Republique du Cameroon's corrupt nature, separation is imperative. A colonial gendarmerie officer has been caught on camera extorting from transporters with all courage. How can an officer of the law be collecting money from transporters openly and in broad daylight?
Well, that's a question you asked, but that is something that is already happening. A colonial gendarmerie officer of La Republique du Cameroon has been caught on camera busy extorting from road users in broad daylight. Well, in the video, this shameless officer is seen collecting money from the hands of road users from the comfort of his vehicle without paying any attention to their car documents, meaning his sole objective to go out for routine checks is only to make money from these road users. From the video, the exchange of money is done without any word being offered either by the transporters nor these colonial officers. From every indication, it is a routine action, something that has been happening, and both parties master the art, and it is an act that both parties are well aware of the rules. Equally, the amount these victims in the hands of the so-called forces of law and order squeeze into the hands of this shameless officer is not debated upon. This officer also gives out different when a bigger bank note to him. This scenery is just a portrait of what Ambazonians are suffering from in the hands of the colonial police officers deployed to Ambazonia. At each and every road junction, there is a police checkpoint from any commercial motorbike that passes by. The colonial officers will collect a sum of 500 francs CFA, while cab drivers pay 500 francs EFA and 1,000 francs CFA. A cab driver working on the Stretch City Chemist roundabout of Bambili told Undaunted that on a single day pays out the sum of 6,000 francs CFA to La Republique du Cameroon forces. Take it that there are 300 cabs working in and around Bamenda, and one of them pays 6,000 francs CFA. Do the calculation, do the math. To the colonial forces of the so-called law and order, the 300 vehicles would pay a total of about 1 million plus 800,000 daily.
Now, consider this amount for the 6 days of the week. It will sum up to 10,000, 10 million.8 francs CFA per week. And for 1 month, this colonial La Republic de Cameroon talks would have collected the sum of 43 million francs CFA. Now, this is a calculation only a cab driver without including that from his commercial riders. Now, the above figures depicts the way in which the regime of Paul Biya is impoverishing the people of Ambazonia and rendering them dependent. With all the proofs of police extortion with footages, none has ever been sanctioned or disciplined. Rather, they are instead promoted to positions to better soak the people of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia of their heart and money. Now, here is a video of a La Republique de Cameroon gendarmerie officer extorting from drivers.
That is a very sad one right there. From the video, not only do you see them collecting money, they go as far as getting into the car and searching underfoot of the driver, where probably they hid some money so they don't let all of their money go and get more for themselves and give whatever they deem fit to the driver. It is terrible, sad, and really heartbreaking. While corruption in La Republique du Cameroon is now an acceptable evil, and anybody not to toe the line of corruption is considered a criminal. The irony. Worst of it is the fact that this is sponsored by those expected to be role models, the forces of law and order. On the contrary, this is the most corrupt of the corps. With the first report Undaunted brought to you, the video you just saw of a colonial La Republique du Cameroon gendarmerie officer opening extorting from road users, this time is another incident of a colonial soldier who puts a bullet into the legs of a road user for refusing to comply to his financial demands. Now you see why the other person was really quiet and let him do all he wants. What we ponder is, since when do road users owe police officers? Or is this an exhibition of the quality of training they received?
A La Republic de Cameroon military man that at press time Undaunted was unable to get the name has shot a road user for refusing to be part of his corrupt scheme. The unfortunate road user, who is still to come to terms with the fact that corruption is legal in La Republique du Cameroon, is nicknamed the Man in White, the owner of the Saint Troupes restaurant in Bastos in the political capital of La Republique du Cameroon. From a source, after arriving at a routine checkpoint, he presented his documents that were complete, yet the officers were not willing to let him go.
Well, looking at the expensive Land Rover Jeep of this road user, the beggarly La Republique du Cameroon officer could smell money. He thought that delaying this guy will compel him to squeeze out some money to him, but he was wrong. Being unable to get his way off the hands of this corrupt officer, the road user became furious. It is in an attempt to recover his car documents from the so-called force of law and order or disorder, given that his documents were retained for no reason, that the officer made use of his weapon of mass destruction, his gun, and shot the leg of this honest citizen.
Now, intriguing enough, after the shot, he quietly returned the documents. Official statements have been made by the government, and one thing is certain: nothing will be done to him. And for someone that has done such evil acts, it will be promotion instead. When Lao Republic declaring colonial force in Bamenda shot and killed a young primary school child, investigations were opened and the case died at the level of preliminary investigations.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with
Now, speaking of road cases, a victim under anonymity narrates to Undaunted the Tuesday, November 15th nightmare along the Bamenda Manthe Road. He says at the weigh-in station of Batibo, BIR soldiers collected ID cards and telephones of both transporters and those of passengers from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. He says we all moved in a convoy to four spots along the road that were bombed by the Amber Boys last Sunday and were asked to fill them each fresh water, mixed concrete and cement, then where the bomb scars are in armored vehicles.
Now, the story gets interesting at this point. This victim says while they were on the first car, the Amber Boys started firing and there was gunfire exchange for more than 1 hour, during which they slept on their bellies along the motoran bushes. While on the second car, a bomb exploded on the roadside close to the fourth car where vehicles were parked. God so kind, there was no injury, but one passenger vehicle was damaged. He goes on to explain that we managed to finish concentrating on the fourth cars at about 1 p.m. under gunfire. Each car measured 3 to 4 meters in diameter and 1 meter deep. As we all left in the convoy led by passenger vehicles towards Bali, we met with Amber Boys armed to the teeth to their regular checkpoints. We crossed over and waited at the Central Police checkpoint in Bali to collect our ID cards and phones for another 30 minutes to discover that another bomb or dynamite shattered the back tire area of one of the three armored vehicles.
Well, this witness concluded by saying in a devastated note, a horrible day for me and disappointment to fresh students who curiously expected to receive lectures. So against relatives and colleagues doubted what was going on, my phone registered 22 missed calls and very important messages. Did somebody really say there is no war? Well, this has been the nightmare of all Amazonian denizens. I mean, not only on the Mamfe Highway, but on other roads within Amazonia where the colonial occupier military uses the people's plight and reach themselves since the senseless war broke out.
All right, armed men believed to be ADF's very specialized in kidnappings, abductions, and ransom taking have released a man they kidnapped in Mile 16 Boya local government area in the war-torn southern zone. Ikia checked Jacob, the victim. Sources say he was kidnapped in his bar at Mile 16 Boya on Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. Undaunted learned that the ADF ransom seekers are said to have stormed the neighborhood, firing gunshots to disperse locals before carrying out the act.
From our sources, we find out that not long after that, the ADF kidnappers visited his house and cleared about 2 million francs CFA, that is over 3,000 US dollars. The source noted, adding that the family was compelled to pay the money under duress as they threatened to burn down their homes. But the ordeal was far from over because the supposed ADF fighters who carted the bar owner away are said to have made contacts with his loved ones, demanding that a ransom be paid before his release. Helpless, the family reportedly paid 2 million francs CFA for his release. Jacob is just one of the many victims, mainly civilians, that has suffered in the hands of supposed fighters, the ADF, who have been using the fight for the recognition of Amazonia to make blood money.
Many other kidnapped victims about them have been tortured and even killed by the ADF supposed fighters in several places. The latest caught in ADF's dragnets where a lawyer who went to bury the father in Batibo denied health workers of a Batibo hospital, La Republic Colonial Senator Regina Mundi, and the ADF list of victims continues.
Well, moving on, the war in Amazonia just keeps having a lot of victims. Now, this war victim, late Tanga Rodolph Angwe, was arrested several years back in a village called Teke in Meme County due to the raging armed conflict in Amazonia. And Undaunted gathered that Tanga Rudolph Angwe died after prison authorities ignored giving him medical attention in his sickbed. News of his death broke out Tuesday, November 14th, 2022, and sources say he was reportedly sick and prison authorities only took him to the hospital when the situation had deteriorated and he be introduced in the said health facility.
Rudolph Angwe is not the first and might not be the last. Many innocent victims of the armed conflict in Amazonia have died in similar circumstances, dragged to both La Republic de Cameroon and Amazonia prisons by the colonial occupier military without any fair trials, and some have died unnoticed or even just got missing. Journalist Samuel Wazizi was detained in Boya, and while his case was still being followed up by his lawyers in Boya mortuary, attendants in a Yaoundé garrison found his lifeless body worrisome as no one was coming for it. Thomas Tangem, a monk, was picked from his workshop in Boya and whisked off to Yaoundé on trumped up charges of supporting amber fighters and was chained on a hospital bed at the Yaoundé until he gave up the ghost. Arrested in May 16, Boyer, tortured and imprisoned in a bunker for over 2 years without trial. Reverend Tangem Thomas died in hospital in Yaoundé while still in chains.
Well, the monk who was at the Mbengui monastery was arrested over 3 years ago after someone pretended to be a customer, called him to stand by the road, but military showed up and took him to Yaoundé. Attached is a picture of him in chains and show how the colonial military hospital in Yaoundé exposed the man died in pains without trial. According to Undaunted source, Rudolph Angwe has and the prison authorities kept him till the situation was worse before he was taken to the hospital. Most of the times here in the Boya prison, inmates have a monthly contribution called sick contribution. Source revealed, adding that each inmate gives 100 francs CFA, and when we get sick and go to the prison hospital, we do not even have any medications. He further lamented that before we go to the to the hospital, we were asked to pay some money as caution before we are taken to the hospital.
Old Stories, Africa's Best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. With the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation.
The National Electricity 2 years now and counting have been unable to transport electricity to the towns of Nkambe and Undu since the main transformer supplying that area was damaged by the war. Well, ironically, Senatral is given an excuse saying insecurity is the reason for her inability to supply Nkambe and Undu power. Insecurity as a result of the ongoing war in southern Cameroon. The question is, how can the war they declared be a problem again to them? Well, they have all the different factions of the security forces, yet they still complain of the war and insecurity. What do they expect a common man to do then?
All right, this is an interesting one. A community initiative is born with the objective to reinstate the forgotten Nkambe. The amount budgeted for this project amounts to 1 million francs CFA. This amount is to come from well wishes. The list for the freewill donation to raise the fund for the realization of the project is opened, and sons and daughters of this part of the southern Cameroon and beyond have already started contributing. Talking to a resident in Kambe, he opined that for more than 2 years now, there has been no electricity in Nkambe. Now, this is his narrative. He says, Nkambe to me is a country of its own. He goes on to say, it has been abandoned for more than 2 years now and counting without electricity. All we have here is generator, and it is not even everybody that can afford one. He goes on to explain that our school children are suffering as only a selected parents can fuel a generator for the children to study. He says when it's time for official exams, they will be competing with those in the city centers who have constant supply of electricity. Now, a correspondent from Nkambe lamented. Nkambe is considered by many as one of the peaceful places of the southern zone of Ambazonia as far as the ongoing war is concerned. Yet, the colonial president of La Republique du Cameroon, Paul Biya, has chosen to punish them the other way by denying them electricity. And in sports, Brentford striker Ivan Toney has been charged by the Football Association with 232 alleged breaches of betting rules.
Now, the alleged breaches took place between 25th February 2000 and 23rd January 2021. While in sports, Gabellison has more.
Latest world sports. Football. Ivan Toney, Brentford striker charged by FA with 232 breaches of betting rules. Brentford striker Ivan Toney has been charged by the Football Association with 232 alleged breaches of betting rules. The alleged breaches took place between 25 February 2017 and 23 January 2021. Toney, 26, has scored 10 Premier League goals this season but missed out on a place in the England World Cup squad. Brentford said in a statement the club has been in discussion with Ivan and his legal representatives. Those conversations will continue privately. The statement continued, take no further comment until the matter has been. Toney has until 24th November to respond to the FA misconduct charges, which involve alleged breaches of FA Rule E8, which bans players from betting on games or sharing privileged information for the purposes of betting. He faces a lengthy ban if they are proven. England defender Kieran Trippier was banned for 10 weeks by the FA in December 2020 for giving out information for others to bet on his transfer from Tottenham to Atletico Madrid. In 2017, Joey Barton was banned for 5 months after he admitted placing 1,260 football-related bets in a year period. Toney said earlier this month, after the allegations were first reported, that he was assisting the Football Association with their inquiries. During the time stated in the FA charge, Tony represented four different clubs: Antwerp United, Wigan Athletic, Peterborough United, and Brentford. He was on the books at Newcastle United from 2015 to 2018 but spent the majority of that time out on loan. The Northampton-born player had two spells at Scunthorpe, playing for them in the 2016-2017 season and again from January to May 2018, either side of 6 months on loan at Wigan. Tony signed for Peterborough in August 2018 before making a £5 million move to Brentford in September 2020. The forward, who began his career at Northampton, has scored 58 goals in 105 appearances for Brentford, including 2 in shock 2-1 win at defending Premier League champions Manchester City in the final game before the World Cup break. Only England captain Harry Kane, 12, and City forward Erling Haaland, 18, have scored more goals in the Premier League this season. Tony received his first England call-up for September's Nations League games against Italy and Germany but did not get on the pitch in either. Basketball. I'm essentially starting a new life, says Isaac Humphries as he becomes the only openly gay man playing top-flight basketball. As he begins to discuss his sexuality, Isaac Humphries says he is able to lift 25 years of weight off his shoulders. Humphries, who plays for Melbourne United in Australia's National Basketball League, had never previously spoken publicly about his sexuality out of fear it would negatively impact his career. But now he says he feels ready to live my true life and become the world's only openly gay man playing top-flight basketball. Forever, I thought that being a professional basketball player and gay were mutually exclusive and that I had to hide that side of my life and wasn't allowed to be who I truly am. Humphries exclusively tells CNN Sports' Amanda Davis, "I'm making the decision to come out because I believe that I can be who I am in my environment and I can change the trajectory of how we feel being gay in sport." In 2013, former NBA player Jason Collins became the first openly gay athlete in one of the 4 major North American sports leagues when he came out late in his career. More recently, Josh Cavallo, who plays for Adelaide United in Australia's A-League, became the only current openly gay top-flight male soccer player when he came out last year. As for Humphries, he says coming to terms with his sexuality drove him to a very dark and very lonely place before feeling comfortable enough to come out. My self-hate, my self-homophobia, everything in that realm was very, very real within my brain, and it got so dark that I absolutely thought about exiting. He adds, "I didn't want to exist like this. I didn't think I was allowed to exist like this within my basketball world." Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amber News.
All right, and with that sports report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's give you the highlights of our major stories.
La Republic of Cameroon soldiers abuse students, forcing them to go on rampage. CPDM MP Honorable Ekole Peters says there is no war. Manfay Defense Forces confront La Republic of Cameroon colonial terrorists. La Republic of Cameroon forces makes life difficult for transporters and road users in Ambazonia. An ADF extorts 4 million franc CFA from a family in Boya.
All right, today we also told you that Tanguy Rudolph Angwe died at the Boya Central Prison. Sonatrol out of the electricity equation in Cambe after 2 years. And in sports, Brentford striker charged by the FA with 232 breaches of betting rules. And that was it for Undaunted, bringing to you untold stories. On behalf of Michael and Coach Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in. I am Oni Okbala.
We'll leave you with ABC Abba TV images. Good night and God bless you.